Hi, it's Brian Aganad, founder of the Asana Academy. So today I want to talk about 3 quick tips to help you along getting your handstand. So you can help. So first of all, this is based off a couple things. One, it's my handstand roadmap. So if you don't have a copy of that, it'll help you with this video. It's at www.theasanaacademy.com/handstand blueprint. You can get that. And then two, a couple of articles that'll also help you with this on the blog are The Ultimate Guide to Handstand and Why Not Stacking the Hips Properly Can Derail Your Progress. So you can check out those 2 articles and then you can download the handstand blueprint. So that'll help you out with this. But today, here's 3 quick tips to really help you out with your handstand. So especially if you're newer to handstand, the biggest thing that new students when learning handstand make is they don't actively press away from the ground with their hands. And so that means pressing into the ground with the wrist, pushing away from the floor. So what I want you to understand is, energetically speaking, there's 2 ways that your body can move. There's 2 ways the energy can move in your body. And you can subconsciously feel everything moving up, or you could subconsciously feeling everything moving down into the wrist. And that is so key right there. And so a lot of it too, and this is going to segue into a couple of other pieces, but when you kick up to handstand, you'll feel naturally that the weight of the body is heavy into the hands, like down into the arms, down into the wrists, and then down into the floor. If you feel that, there's a little bit of work that needs to be done. And by that, I mean working on pressing away from the ground a whole lot. So like pressing into the floor as much as you possibly can so that you can feel extension up through the arms, like basically up through the forearms, up through the biceps and triceps, and all the way through the shoulders, like all the way up into the air. And so the way you can work on this is going to the wall, kicking up at the wall, and then pressing with the hands the whole entire time. So whatever it is you're doing at the wall, practice pushing away from the ground and literally trying to see how much extension you can create in your body upwards. In fact, this is just a little quick test you can do. This requires a partner. But what I want you to do as a test is go to the wall, set yourself up in handstand, and then as you normally would, and then find your feet up there, and then put a little piece of tape. And then after you do that, press away from the ground as much as you can. Push as far away from the ground as you can, and then put some tape up there. And what you'll see is that you can actually grow a couple of inches that way. You can actually get a couple of inches on your handstand. And that's a huge, huge thing when it comes to balancing, is pushing away from the ground. Now, this is another thing that students newer to handstand ask is, well, what do I do with my feet? What do I do with my feet? So there's this thing called quote unquote yogi toes. What do you do with that? Okay, so yogi toes are essentially 2 things, right? So if you see videos of me or you see photos of me, you see I have this toe spread going on. I have this little toe spread thing. You can flex and you can point your feet at the same time, which is what I do. I flex and I point. However, here's the thing. If you're new to handstand, my recommendation is this. Don't get caught up with handstand. Don't get caught up with what you do with the feet. My advice is just make sure you do something. So if you feel more comfortable flexing the feet, or you feel more comfortable pointing the feet, it's fine. Subconsciously, when you engage your feet, you're just pressing up into the air. You're getting the energy to go up. So you're literally reaching through the toes. You're reaching all the way up, and you're taking all the weight out of your wrist. And that's what you want, is you want the subconscious energy to move yourself up as much as you can. So that's tip number 1, making sure that you're pressing with the hands. Tip number 2 is making sure that you are actually stacking the hips over the shoulders. So the fundamental position of balance in handstand is stacking the hips over the shoulders and then over the wrist. And that's so key. Now, we all know students, or we all know people who've been working on handstand for years. And this is the thing, and it's a little bit harsh when I say this, but handstand, if you work on it wrong, you'll never get it. The common advice is just keep doing it, just keep working on it, and eventually you'll get it. But the thing is, if you're not doing it right, you're never going to get there. You're just going to reinforce bad habits. So what I recommend you do, it's very, very, very simple, is take a video camera and take some jumps. So however you feel most comfortable jumping up to handstand. There's so many different ways to jump towards a handstand. Whichever you feel comfortable, just record yourself. Take 10 jumps and then watch the way you jump. Watch what actually happens in the video. Do you actually get your hips to stack over the shoulders? Do you actually get your hips to stack? Because what happens is, a lot of the time, is the hips don't actually get over the shoulders, and that causes a couple things. One, the shoulders to go too far forward. Two, the lower back to bend a little bit, which also causes the core to disengage. That's a topic for a whole nother day. But getting the hips to stack over the shoulders is one of the most important things you can do for yourself, and it's so important to nail that from day one. So I call that, it's called, there's a fancy term called proprioception, and it's essentially body awareness. And at least when you start from the beginning, if you understand that jumping up to handstand and getting your hips in the right place from day one, if you can understand that, you're going to progress through it a whole lot faster. Okay, makes sense? Now, tip number 3. So tip number 3, I recommend, okay, so this is the tip. Don't get overly attached to the wall. So a lot of students who are new to handstand get really attached to the wall. All they want to do is kick up at the wall over and over and over and over and over. And then maybe you've tried this. It's kind of like this, this toe thing where you kick up and then you slowly move yourself away. Here's what the wall is useful for. And it's primarily useful for developing arm strength. That's what it's useful for. So if you're new and you don't have the arm strength, what I recommend you do is use the wall, obviously, use the wall, kick up, and the trick is to work on, again, like I said in tip number 1, pressing away from the ground the entire time, pressing away from the floor. So that's going to help to create, the lifting action, the extension. It's also going to take care of tip number 1 in the process, but it's going to help you to create the extension from day 1 of your handstand. But once you can do that, so I tell every single one of my students and clients this, when you can do handstand, and when you can hold it at the wall and actively press with your hands the entire time, then get away from it. There's nothing else that can be gained immediately from the wall, so get away with it. I know it requires confronting fear, a whole bunch of other things that are involved. Yes, I understand. But in the long run, it's going to be a whole lot better for you. And not to mention, a lot of students, the other bad thing that can happen if you overuse the wall is you get in the habit of kicking without actually engaging your core. So I like to give the analogy of a rocket ship when you're learning handstand or anything, is that, when a rocket lifts off, there's like smoke, flames, and then the countdown 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, the rocket shoots up. There's smoke and flames before, and that's your core. And it's very easy to get in the habit of kicking up, then engaging your core, versus engaging your core first, then kicking up. So those are the 3 simple tips that can help you along with handstand today in this little handstand mini lesson, so to speak. Again, so if you don't have a copy of the handstand blueprint, www.theasanaacademy.com/handstand blueprint. You can get it there. And if you're not subscribed to my newsletter, I highly recommend you do that. I send a whole bunch of sequences, yoga videos, tips, and just all my best knowledge on yoga to people on my email list. You can do that at www.theasanaacademy.com/signup. In fact, I'm giving away, I think it's 3 free sequences. There's a variety of different sequences on there right now. The handstand blueprint's there. It's included. There's a hamstring sequence. There's a core sequence. There's a whole bunch of different things you can check out. So that's at www.theasanaacademy.com/signup. Okay, thanks for watching. Talk to you guys soon.